Hi, in this video I'm going to explain how to export animations from Cheetah3D into Unity, and these can be arbitrary animations which deform the mesh of the object in any way, but are based on the parametric definitions of the object. Probably best if I explain by example, so let me do that now. Here's a blank Cheetah file. Let's stick a torus in there, and I'm going to animate that by changing various parameters, including its position and rotation. If you go down to the just below the Cheetah timeline, you'll see the three keys which are normally highlighted: position, scale, and rotation. In this case, I'm going to click on P as well, which allows me to animate all the other parameters of the object. And you can see in this case I've got the radius of the ring, the tube of the torus, and a couple of other parameters as well. So let me record the first frame to be there, no change at all. I'm going to make this just 2 seconds long. We don't really need it to be 10 seconds. And if I go to the last frame in 2 seconds time, I'm going to move the object along a bit, so I'll change its position. I'm going to change its rotation, and also I'm going to change some of these parameters up here. Let me reduce the radius of the tube, and perhaps this M1 parameter which defines the kind of squareness or roundness of the torus. So let me record that, and then if I play the animation, return to the beginning of the timeline and play the animation, you can see this is what it looks like. Great. Okay, well, how do I get that into Unity? Well, Cheetah and Unity play nicely with each other, more or less, and it's possible to just drop the jazz file directly into Unity. So let's see what happens when I do that. Let me just save it first of all as a torus. And let me go over to Unity. So this is a blank project in Unity. I've added a plane and a couple of lights just for context, and you can probably see here that in the project pane there's a folder called megafiles, which refers to a package I'll be talking about in a minute, but in this case it's not used. Let me just drop in the file we just created in Cheetah into the project pane. There it is, and let's instantiate an object in the scene view. There's our torus. Now you can see that in the inspector over here, the animation from Cheetah, which was called Take 0, is automatically in there, and you can also see in the animation pane that I've got the 2-second animation. Well, at least something. But what happens if I play that? Now you can see what's happening there is that I'm just getting the transformation, the linear part of the transformation, the position change and the rotation change, but I'm not getting the mesh change. And this is the problem, unfortunately, exporting these types of animations into Unity. And this happens incidentally whether you export to FBX first in Cheetah and then into Unity, or whether you just drop the jazz file directly into Unity. Unfortunately, Unity can't handle the mesh deformation that we see in Cheetah. So how do we get that in there? Well, there is another way to do it, and it's a two-step process. First of all, it is possible for Unity to import mesh deformation data by the use of a plugin or add-in for Unity, and it's part of the Megafiles package, which is a third-party package commercially available, which allows you to distort and bend and apply various warps to meshes. But also, interestingly, for this particular exercise, it has a specific plugin which allows you to apply point cache data to a mesh. Now, this is data which will actually deform the mesh in real time. So provided we can get data in the right format, we can actually apply it to the mesh and get our torus to deform as well as move. Well, how do we do that? Well, back to Cheetah. What we need to do in Cheetah is to export the change to the mesh in a specific format called MDD, which stands for Motion Designer Document, and it's a format that was developed by the guys who made Lightwave, which helps for interchange of vertex animation data. Fortunately, in the Cheetah world, we have a very prolific script writer, and he's provided a script which is freely available, which allows you to export any animation which involves a mesh deformation to MDD. Well, I have that tool already loaded. If I look in my tool script menu, and in particular go down to tool scripts, I'll see something called MDD exporter, and that's the one I want. This is available in the Cheetah forums under the script area. If I pick that tool, you'll see here the tool information changes, and what I need to do actually is to just set a couple of parameters that are appropriate for my situation. In this particular case, I haven't actually got any modifiers being applied to the mesh, so I don't need to tick that. But I do have a transform. In other words, it's the movement of the object in its rotation. So I'm going to click Object to get the object transform data. It's only 2 seconds long, so I don't need it to be 4 seconds, and I can leave the other parameters as they are. Now, if I export that file, and I'll put it in the same place as the Jazz file, it automatically applies a .mdd extension, and I'll save it. And there it is. Now, let's go back to Unity and see what we can do with this. Well, I'll delete my Jazz file from the previous example, and instead I'll import what I got from my MDD exporter. Actually, it exported more than just an MDD file. It also exported a materials file, which we'll ignore, and an OBJ. And it's the OBJ we want in this case. Let's drag the OBJ into the project pane, and from the prefab, we'll create the object in the usual way. Here it is. But in this case, you'll notice that there is no animation attached to it. It's a pure OBJ, it's a pure mesh. So how do we get it to do the animation? Well, this is where the Megafires add-in comes in. What we need to do next is apply the Megafires point cache component or script to our object. So let's go down to point cache, pick that, and you'll see the inspector now actually adds a couple of scripts. The generic modify object script, which is always added, and in particular of interest for us is this point cache script down here. So what we do next is import our MDD data that we exported using our script in Cheetah. Click on import. Let's go to our Cheetah file. There's the MDD data, and you'll notice that it's quite large relative to the size of the original document. We click on open. At this point, what the add-in is doing is mapping the vertex deformation data into memory, and we'll see how big that is in a second, so it just takes a couple of minutes. Okay, so you can see actually in the inspector here that's actually cached in memory, it's 366K. What does that do for us? Well, what that is actually a sequence of mesh deformation data which needs to be applied in each frame to our mesh. One thing we need to do to see that is to just change this loop time here, as this parameter is called, to the length of the animation, which is 2 seconds, and we'll click on animated. Now if we press play to go into the game view, we'll see that the torus not only moves, in other words, the linear transformation is applied, but also the mesh deformation is also applied.